Now, the ongoing fight against tuberculosis has received a major boost. Medical researchers believe they have developed a revolutionary new TB drug. Researchers say the new drug can kill 99% of TB bacteria in just 2 weeks.
Now, at the moment, it can take anywhere between 6 months and a year to cure the disease. The TB Alliance told the International AIDS Conference in Washington, D.C. that the drug will also significantly cut treatment costs. Doctors Without Borders has described the findings as a breakthrough. The Medical Research Council can't say when the drug will become available, as more trials still have to be conducted. The new drug can also be used by patients who are in current treatments, but it's too soon to tell whether it will work for drug-resistant forms of the disease.
We know from a 2-week trial now in 15 patients that it looked very promising in reducing the numbers of bacteria that we find in these patients. And if the trend that we have seen continues, it will definitely be possible to make the treatment shorter and more effective.
So is this breakthrough really worth celebrating? I'm now joined by the director of the KwaZulu-Natal Research Institute for TB and HIV, William Bishai. Dr. Bishai, evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us. So what does this discovery mean for the treatment of TB?
The discovery was a study done in Cape Town, and they used a new drug called PA824 in combination with 2 additional drugs against tuberculosis in a study involving South African patients, and it showed a remarkable killing effect in a short-term study. Could we see TB eventually eradicated? I think we definitely need new drugs against TB, and if we have drugs that can act quickly, like this regimen promises to do, there is future hope. It's a long road ahead, but there's certainly hope. Mm-hmm. And how soon, then, would such a drug be available for use? There are a number of drugs in the pipeline, which is wonderful news. It's the best news we've had in half a century for the treatment of TB. 2 were recently submitted for regulatory approval, a process which takes 6 to 12 months. So I think there's great hope that we'll have some new drugs in place by 2013. And this drug that we heard about in the recent announcement is yet a 3rd drug, which hopefully will be coming through shortly. Now, previously, there's been a problem that when you're treating people with TB and HIV, those drugs do not react well. Does that get rid of that particular problem? This particular regimen that was studied and was the source of the major announcement looks like it will work well with antiretrovirals. So we have great hopefulness that the 2 categories of drugs will work well together. Mm-hmm. Is there a sense that you're winning the fight against TB? I think right now we're not in a position to claim that we're winning, unfortunately. There are more cases of TB each year. 2011 saw more total TB cases, and 2012 threatens to do the same. We desperately need new tools. We got a wonderful tool 2 years ago in the form of Gene Expert, a very rapid diagnostic tool which is being used here extensively in South Africa. But we need drugs to go with the diagnostics before we can claim progress against the disease. A few years ago here in South Africa, we had a problem with an increase of these drug-resistant forms of TB, XDR and MDR. Is that still a major concern? Yes, it's of great concern, and we're at stalemate right now. Fortunately, rates of MDR TB and extensively drug-resistant TB XDR are stable. They're not taking over or increasing, but we're at a stalemate. And importantly, this new drug regimen that was the focus of the study would work well against MDR TB. It would possibly be compromised against XDR. So it underscores the need for new drugs. If we had 2 totally brand new drugs, we wouldn't have XDR TB anymore. And one of the other problems that we've had is that once people are on this long regimen, which could take up to 6 months, they don't complete the course. Is that message beginning to get across? Yes, I think the Department of Health has done an excellent job of spreading the message that even though you feel better when you start your TB drugs, it takes 6 months at minimum to be cured, and one can't slack off after the 1st or 2nd month even though one feels better. That's a critical message. And with any luck, some of these new drug regimens will enable shortening. And wouldn't it be wonderful if in the future we could have a 10-day blister pack where all you had to do was take a tablet once a day for 10 days, but we've got a ways to go to get there.
With those kinds of advances, I mean, taking TB treatment over 10 days, I imagine those drugs will be very costly.
There's great mobilization around the world to make these new discoveries available at a reasonable cost. And that was certainly part of the formula for this new drug PA824. If it can be approved, it'll be made available at a reasonable cost for high-burden countries. So yes, that's a concern, but everybody's working, the pharmaceutical companies, the philanthropies, government authorities, to make these drugs available. There's no sense in overpricing them once they're put through and made available.
Thank you so much for your time. That was Dr. William Bishai. He's from the KwaZulu-Natal Research Institute for TB and HIV.
Now, salary increases for ministers should be based on performance. That's according to the Independent Commission for the Remuneration of Public Office Bearers. It's been researching the proposal. But for now, it's recommended a 5.5% pay hike for cabinet ministers, which includes the president. Now, if